The case you're about to see is a fictional one, but the procedure is legally accurate. The characters are played by actors, but the jury is selected from members of the public.
Are you Stella Martin-James?
I am, yes.
Stella Martin-James, you stand indicted on 2 counts. On the first count, you are charged with theft.
Don't see why you can't, Mayor.
Well, you can't.
Don't see why not.
'Cause they say not.
Well, we've just got to sit here for hours and hours till our names are called.
Right.
Well, I'm going to have a listen. I can't stop you doing that.
Well, Patsy, sit down.
Hello, Bloomers. Hey, where's the toilet?
Mary?
May it please your honour, in this case I appear for the prosecution, and my learned friend, Miss Levine, appears on behalf of the defendant.
Yes, Mr. Ingrams, thank you.
Now, members of the jury, this is a quite simple and straightforward case, and I venture to suggest to you with some conviction that the evidence which the prosecution will in due course lay before you will be found to lead positively and conclusively in only one possible direction. Now, as you have already heard, the accused is charged with the theft of sums of £50 each from 2 young ladies.
Shh! Kindly be quiet or you'll be removed from the courtroom at once.
The accused is charged with the theft of sums of £50 from Mary Carr and Patricia Donovan, now both of whom you'll be hearing and seeing for yourselves. Now, these 2 young ladies are both residents of a probation hostel, that is to say, they had themselves already been in trouble with the law. They had been placed on probation for it, and they still are on probation, which is why they currently reside where they do, together with, I believe, 10 or so other young ladies who are similarly on probation. Now, the facts of this case are these. Mary Carr and Patricia Donovan each had in their possession, on August the 15th last, the sum of £50 in cash. Now, each will confirm that at some stage during the subsequent 24 hours, this money disappeared. Now, you will hear how the accused, who was at that time the warden in charge of Green House Probation hostel, was that evening discovered to have the sum of exactly £100 in cash among her private possessions. Now, her explanation as to how she came to have this money underwent, as you will hear, a rapid series of changes, until she finally admitted what she had hitherto denied, which was that the money was indeed the property of Mary Carr and Patricia Donovan, and that she had taken it. In conclusion, you will hear, members of the jury, that the accused was herself at that time in desperate need of cash. Indeed, before the theft had even been discovered, she contacted someone to whom she owed a great deal of money and said that she now had money and would be in a position to pay off the debt. Your Honour, I now call the prosecution's first witness, Woman Police Constable Ball, please. Constable Ball, were you at Green House Probation hostel at approximately 7 p.m. on the evening of Sunday, the 16th of August last?
Yes, that is correct, Your Honour.
And did you there see the accused, Mrs. Martin-James, and inform her that you were making inquiries as to the whereabouts of the sum of £100 in cash, which had been reported missing by 2 of the residents of the hostel, Mary Carr and Patricia Donovan?
That is correct, yes, Your Honour, yes.
Well, will you tell us, please, what was the accused's reaction to that?
Your Honour?
Yes, yes.
Mrs. Martin-James said, I haven't the faintest idea what it is you're talking about.
And almost immediately then did something occur?
It did, Your Honour. We were in Mrs. Martin-James's office, and Mary Carr came in.
Mary Carr being one of the hostel residents, of course. Yes, now, will you tell His Honour and the members of the jury what happened then?
Mary Carr came in and put something, perhaps to say tossed something would be more correct, down onto the blotter on the desk in front of Mrs. Martin-James.
What was it?
A brown manila envelope.
Mary Carr said nothing. She simply, well, as you put it, tossed the envelope onto the desk. What happened then?
I said, what's that?
And what did she reply?
To whom?
Your Honour?
To whom did you say, what's that?
To Mary Carr, Your Honour.
Mm-hmm. And what did she reply to that?
Ask her.
I see. Mary Carr said, ask her, meaning that you should ask Mrs. Martin-James.
Yes, that is correct.
And did you? Did you ask her?
No, I just looked at her interrogatively.
Yes. Do you mean interrogatively?
Your Honour.
And what was her response to that?
She became very agitated and started to search in her desk for a packet of cigarettes. When she had found them, she lit one with some difficulty because her hands were trembling violently.
Go on, please. What happened then?
I requested Mrs. Martin-James to open the envelope. After some hesitation, she did.
And what was inside it?
£100 in £1 notes.
Yeah, do you mean that you counted it there and then?
No, Your Honour. Perhaps I should have said that the envelope contained a sum of money in £1 notes, which when later counted at the police station amounted to £100.
Yes.
Will you tell us, please, what was then said?
Mrs. Martin-James said, "Mary, what on earth do you think you're doing? Where has this come from?"
Yes.
Mary Carr said, "From your dressing table drawer." Mrs. Martin-James then said, "Mary, it's mine. You mustn't take things belonging to other people." Mary Carr said, "It's not yours, you cow. It's mine and Patsy's, and you sodding well know it."
What transpired then?
Well, Mrs. Martin-James began to cry. She said, "Mary, how can you do such a thing?" She then regained control of herself, and as she was wiping her eyes, she said, "Officer, I know this is a terrible thing to say, but this girl has deliberately planted this money in my dressing table drawer to try and get me into trouble."
Did Mary Carr reply anything to that?
No. After a pause of some seconds, Mrs. Martin-James said, "For God's sake, Mary, tell this police officer the truth." She then went on, "Officer, she's being deliberately wicked and trying to make things look bad for me. She and Patsy gave me this money to look after for them. She knew it was there all the time, and now she's trying to pretend she didn't and has found it."
So, in the space of, 3 or 4 minutes at the most, Mrs. Martin-James gave you no less than 5 completely different and totally contradictory statements.
Yes, that is quite correct.
Thank you, officer.
Officer, what were you doing at Green House at that time on that Sunday evening?
I was there in the course of making enquiries.
When my learned friend asked you, did you tell Mrs. Martin-James when you saw her you were making inquiries as to the whereabouts of cash reported missing by Mary Carr and Patricia Donovan, you replied, "That's correct."
That's correct. Yes, that's correct.
Which suggests, does it not, that that is why you've gone to the hostel?
Well, I don't think I can say what it suggests.
Don't fence with me, officer, please. The way you put it did suggest that.
Honour, I...
Yes, Miss Levine, I think you should not pursue that.
Your Honour. Anyway, officer, will you tell us what the inquiries were you were in the course of making that took you to the hostel that evening?
Your Honour?
Yes, well, answer the question, officer, and if I feel there's anything improper in what you're saying, I'll stop you.
A phone call had been received at the police station requesting an officer to go to Green House.
Saying that one of the residents had climbed up on the roof and was threatening to throw herself off and kill herself.
I believe that was the gist of the message. That is correct.
And it was made to the police station by Mrs. Martin-James.
Well, I don't know who made the call, Your Honour. I didn't receive it.
Well, perhaps you will accept my word for it, officer, that it was Mrs. Martin-James herself who first requested a police officer to come. Now, how long before you arrived there was that call made?
I believe it had been received about an hour beforehand or thereabouts.
So no one exactly hurried round?
Well, we were very busy and undermanned that evening, and, well, to be quite honest, it wasn't by any means the first alarm of that kind that we'd received from Green House Hostel.
From Mrs. Martin-James?
I didn't say that, Your Honour. I said from Green House Hostel.
And it is a fact, isn't it, that by the time you got there, the suicide threat was over and the girl in question was in the lounge watching television. You were about to depart when Mary Carr approached you in the hall and told you some money she'd had was missing.
Yes, that is roughly correct.
And you therefore went immediately and started to question Mrs. Martin-James about it?
No, I did not. I had a long talk with both the girls first to satisfy myself that they were making a genuine complaint.
Officer, how well do you know Mrs. Martin-James?
Well, I'm sure, Miss Levine, the officer doesn't know what you mean by that. And I must confess, neither do I. But do you mean, are they close personal friends? I mean, is that what you're asking?
No, Your Honour. Perhaps I can put it another way.
Yes.
Officer, Mrs. Martin-James was not at that time a complete stranger to you?
No, I had been to the hostel on several occasions before and had therefore met her there previously. That is correct.
And you also already knew, did you not, Mary Carr and Patricia Donovan?
Yes, I did.
And if I were to say to you, in any given situation, whom would you tend to believe? Mary
Honor,
Carr...
I really must protest.
Yes, Miss Levine, I sincerely hope you would not say any such thing.
Your Honour, in that case, I have no more questions.
Mr. Ingram?
No further questions, Your Honour.
All right, thank you, officer.
Good old bloomers!
Silence in court.
And so, Mr. Carr, you gave your daughter, Mary, just as you were leaving, £100 in £1 notes.
Yeah, and a big kiss and a squeeze to go with it.
Thank you, Mr. Carr.
Mr. Carr, what was the reason for this remarkable act of generosity of yours towards your daughter?
Well, it's you that's saying it's generous, love, not me.
Would you answer the question, please? Whether we admit the adjective generous or not, what was the reason for this large gift?
Well, the same as the kiss and the squeeze. It was her birthday the day before, wasn't it?
And you'd always in previous years given her presents of this size?
Oh, come on. Look, what do people of your class give one another for presents then? I mean, 100 quid, what's that? Well, as long as you work for it and you can afford it.
Very well, we'll pass on. How long before that was it since you'd seen your daughter, Mr. Carr?
Oh, yeah, 4 months. May the 9th, I got sent down.
Mr. Carr, I must point out to you that there's absolutely no necessity for you to give self-incriminatory answers of that kind, you know.
Well, depends who thinks they're well, whatever it was you... Well, doesn't it? Look, I mean, I don't mind people knowing I've just come out of the nick. Just because I'm a thief doesn't mean to say I'm a liar.
No. Well, very well then, Mr. Carr, if you insist. Mr. Dean?
Perhaps you'd like to tell us, Mr. Carr, where the £100 came from, would you?
Yes, certainly. Why not? I took it from a post office. A post office savings bank. Oh, do you want to see...
No, thank you, Mr. Carr. That won't be necessary. However, let us pass on. Did you know Mrs. Martin-James before you went to see your daughter at the hostel that evening?
Not like that, no.
I beg your pardon?
Well, I mean, not in the way you mean. Oh, I may have met her once or twice in the past, you know, come across her now and again. But oh, no, I
Mr.
certainly
Carr,
never...
Why are you denying implications I'm not even making?
I know you lot. And her.
Well, Mr. Carr, I am suggesting to you that you are certainly no friend of Mrs. Martin-James.
You can say that again.
Though you would certainly like to be. I put it to you that you have in the past made certain suggestions to Mrs. Martin-James and that she has rebuffed you. And that now you are trying to...
You must be out of your tiny wig, love.
Is that an answer, Mr. Carr?
It sounded like an answer to me, Miss Levine.
In that case, Your Honour, I have no more questions. Thank you.
Springrams? No, right. Thank you, Mr. Carr. You may leave the witness box.
Mary Carr.
That bloody time. Watch it, Dumbo. Found it on your own then, or did they bring you on a lead? Is this it? Mary, Mother, and all the angels' arms.
And what happened then, Mary?
Well, I was sitting in a chair by the front sitting room window. I was wondering how long it'd be before I'd see him again. And then Patsy come in.
Patsy, that's another girl from the hostel, Patricia Donovan.
Yeah, she said, "What's up, Mare?" I said, "Well, you know, seeing me dad and him going again and all that." And she said, "Well, at least you've got a dad, Mare. Well, one that comes to see you on your birthday anyway." And I said, "Yeah." And I said, "And guess what he gave me for a birthday present?" She said, "I don't know what." I said, 100 quid. She said, 100 quid. I said, "Yeah, 100 quid. She said, "Go on, I don't believe it." I said, "He did," I said. I said, "Look then, count it if you like." And I showed it her. The cash, the actual money. She said, "Well, core, blimey," she said, "core."
Yes, thank you, Mary. And as a result of that conversation, Mary, what did you then do?
Do? What? Oh, yeah. Well, we went on a bit and talked about this and that and things. And then she said, "Well, what are you going to do with it then, Mer?"
The £100.
Right. I said, "I don't know yet, do I? I haven't had a chance to think about it yet, have I? Because I hadn't." Then I said, "Well, I know one thing. I'm going to do those straight away, Patsy." And she said, "What?" And I said, "Hold your hand out." And when she did, I said, "There you are, and don't argue about it. That's for you."
What? What was for her?
What? Oh, the money. I give her the money. Well, half of it, 50 quid. I said, there you are, Patsy. I said, that's for you. That's yours for being such a good mate of mine.
Now, Mary, how much money did you give her again?
Exactly half. We counted it out, 50 quid.
Now, this was late on the Saturday afternoon, shortly after your father had left. Is that right?
Right. More or less exactly 6 o'clock.
Yes. Now, Mary, how is it that you remember the time so exactly?
Because Quirke come in with Barbara. They'd been...
Just a moment, Mary, please. Quirke?
Quirke Andrews. One of the girls in the hostel. That's her over there, sitting with Chrissy at the back.
Yes. Yes, indeed. Now, Barbara. Now, that's another girl from the hostel? Yes.
Dumbo, we usually call her. She's a bit...
Mary, never mind that for the moment. Let's just tell us some more about what happened when Barbara and Quirke came in. Not so much what was said, but what it was that happened that made you remember that it was precisely 6 o'clock.
Your Honour, I feel my learned friend is leading the witness in such a way as
do you, Miss Lubin? I can't say I particularly thought so. No, I think you're just trying to hurry things along a little and keep your witness to the point, aren't you, Mr. Ingrams?
Yes, indeed, Your Honour, precisely.
Yes, well, I think I'll let you go on for the moment.
I'm obliged, Your Honour. Mary, I'll ask you again. Now, what makes you remember so exactly that it was 6 o'clock precisely?
Well, Barbara had got this watch she said a bloke could give her. She showed it us, and she asked us how much we thought she'd get for it at Dolly's.
At where? At where, did you say, Miss?
Dolly's. It's a sort of second-hand furniture shop.
In effect, she was asking you what you thought it was worth.
Right.
And what did you tell her?
Nothing.
Oh, yes, I see. You mean you told her that you thought it was valueless.
Yeah, it only got one hand, the little one. She said that's all you needed. It was pointing to 6 o'clock, so that's what it was, 6 o'clock. And just as she said it, we heard the bloke say it was 6 o'clock on Quirke's tranny, and it made us all laugh. She says funny things like that sometimes, does Barbara. We asked her what she'd give him for it. She said 69.
Hmm? £69?
So, in fact, it was the incident with Barbara's one-handed watch which made you remember that it was precisely 6 o'clock. Now, what happened then, Mary?
Jimmy come in the sitting room.
Jimmy? Oh, you mean Mrs. Martin-James. Jimmy being your, or what should we say, your pet name for her.
It was our name for her.
And what occurred?
She started in on Barbara, started giving her a rucking.
Well, can you tell us a little more about that?
Well, Barbara had run up to us and she come in all excited, showing her watch. When she told her a bloke could give it her, Jimmy started yelling and swearing at her, telling her she was nothing but a tart. Then Patsy said, well, what does that make me and Mary then? Look what we've got, and guess how we got it. She took the 50 quid out of here, and we pulled Jimmy's leg for a few minutes, till we told her the truth that me dad had give it me.
Now, Mrs. Martin-James saw the money that you had also, the cash that each one of you had.
No, she only saw that Patsy had. But Patsy told her I'd got 50 quid and all, and I didn't say I hadn't.
Now, Mary, did Mrs. Martin-James make any suggestions about it? Well, I mean, for example, such as that she should look after the money for you.
No.
Did you make any suggestions to her that she should look after the money?
No, I didn't.
Now, Mary, where did you then put your money, the £50 in cash?
In the back of the drawer, in the locker, beside my bed, in my bedroom.
Now, do you mean inside the drawer at the back?
No, the back of the drawer's a bit loose. You can pull it forward a bit, so you've got like a secret compartment behind it.
Did you put anything else at the back of the drawer at the same time?
No, what like? Oh, yeah, I put the other 50 quid of Patsy's in there too with it, right, yeah.
Had Patsy asked you to do that, to hide it away with her?
Yeah.
Was the money in anything? What, a container of some kind?
No, just loose.
Did anyone else besides you and Patsy know that you'd put the money there?
Yeah, because Patsy went and told Jimmy that she'd put it there.
No, Mary, please don't continue with what you were going to say. Your Honour, I will rephrase that last question to the witness.
Yes, indeed, Mr. Ingrams, I think you'd better.
Mary, just answer this question, yes or no. Did anyone else besides Patsy see you put the money at the back of the drawer?
No.
And this question too, please, just yes or no. Did you yourself tell anyone that it was put there?
No.
And when did you discover that the money was missing?
The next time I come to look for it, about 6 o'clock on Sunday.
Thank you very much, Mary.
Miss Carr, since my learned friend hasn't himself asked you what would seem to me to be the next logical question, I will. How did you discover the money was missing?
By opening the drawer, taking the back out and seeing it weren't there.
Why were you looking for it particularly at that time? Answer, please.
I was fed up. I wanted to run away.
Why were you fed up?
Wouldn't you be in a place like that?
Yes, I think I very certainly should. However, at the moment what we're concerned with is why you were.
Because of Linda.
This is the girl who'd been on the roof threatening to kill herself.
Right.
Now, I'm not suggesting that this is why she had done that, but you had, in fact, had a violent quarrel at lunchtime of that day.
Your Honour, is this relevant?
Miss Levine, is this strictly germane?
Your Honour. Miss Carr, has Mrs. Martin-James ever struck you, hit you?
No.
Has she ever, how shall I put it, informed on you to the police?
No.
Would you say, and please don't be hesitant about it if you feel it, would you say she had ever done anything to harm you in any way whatsoever before this alleged theft from you?
Not particularly.
Please don't qualify, Mary. Has she or hasn't she?
No, she hasn't.
Then why do you hate her so much?
Honour, with the greatest respect, I suggest that my learned friend has not established that this witness hates Mrs. Martin-James at all.
Miss Levine?
I will rephrase the question, Your Honour, but precede it with another, if I may. Miss Carr, you don't like Mrs. Martin-James very much, do you?
None of us does.
No, I didn't ask you that. I asked you about you yourself, your own feelings.
No.
But why is that?
Because she stole my money, mine and Patsy's.
Yes, but before this alleged theft, you said that the moment you discovered the money was missing, you went straight to Woman Police Constable Ball, who was in the hostel at that time, and told her and reported the whole fact to her.
Well, yeah.
Miss Carr, what I'm suggesting is very short and simple. You immediately put suspicion, and I'm not suggesting you didn't genuinely feel it, on to Mrs. Martin-James. Now, why was that?
Because I know what she is.
You know what she is. What is she?
Not a very nice sort of person, I think.
Not a very nice sort of person. What does that mean?
Honour, I submit my learned friend has her answer. The witness is expressing merely her own personal opinion, that she does not think that the accused is a very nice sort of person.
Yes, you know, I do feel, Miss Levine, that you should not badger the witness.
Your Honour, with respect,
No, Miss Levine, I'm not going to allow it, and that is that.
In that case, I have no more questions.
Miss Brington?
No further questions, Your Honour. I call Patricia Donovan.
Thank you.
Patricia Donovan.
What have you done? Oh.
Oh, shut up, Barbara. Look, I told you it would take me a minute to find somewhere for the car.
Now, Patsy, so that we can be absolutely clear about this, you are saying that you told Mrs. Martin-James, in so many words, after supper on the Saturday evening, when you were on your own with her in her office, that Mary had put £100 in cash in the sort of secret compartment at the back of the drawer in her bedside locker.
I did. That's the honest truth to God.
Now, Patsy, why did you tell her that?
Because she kept asking me where the money was. Was I sure it was safe and so on, you know. It's a daft thing to do, though, to tell her.
Did you tell Mary that you had told her?
No, I didn't. She'd have killed me. I mean, she knew I knew, like everyone else, what a thieving person she was.
No, Patsy, I don't want you to say things of that kind, please.
Miss Levine?
Your Honour, it might perhaps be of assistance to my learned friend, or at least lessen his embarrassment, if I make it quite clear that it is to be no part of the defence to conceal. In fact, we intend to be perfectly open about it. The fact that Mrs. Martin-James has a criminal record and has been in prison several times.
Join us again tomorrow when the case of the Queen against Martin-James will be resumed in the Crown Court. Stella Martin-James, the warden in charge of Green House Probation Hostel for girls, is accused of stealing the sum of £100 in cash belonging to Mary Carr and Patsy Donovan, two of the girls who are living in the hostel. She has pleaded not guilty, but the defence has admitted that she herself has a criminal record and has been in prison several times.
What is your occupation, Mr. White?
I'm a shop manager for the Westway Wine Company.
And you, in fact, live over the shop in a flat which they provide?
Yes, that's right.
Now, the accused, Mrs. Martin-James, is a regular customer of yours, is she not?
Yes, she is. Well, she was.
Did she have an account with you?
Not an account, strictly speaking, no. It's not really company policy to let people have accounts.
Well, not an official account, to be sure, but last August she did, in fact, owe you some money.
Yes, she did.
Now, do you remember how much it was?
Something rather over £75, nearly 80.
Yes, now, Mr. White, you remember Saturday, August the 15th last?
Yes.
What happened on that day?
Stella, Mrs. Martin-James, came into the shop about 2 o'clock and wanted 2 bottles of sherry. I said I wouldn't let her have them until she paid off what she owed, or at least some of it. Because if the company found out I'd given her so much credit, I'd lose my job.
And what was her reaction to that?
She became very violent and abusive, swearing at me and, well, threatening. Threatening to damage the shop and me.
So what did you do?
For the sake of peace, I let her have the 2 bottles of sherry.
Now, when you asked her to pay off her debt, or as you say, at least part of it, was it your impression that she simply wouldn't, or that she in fact couldn't?
That she couldn't. I said, look, Stella, it's getting up... I'm sorry, I mean Mrs. Martin-James.
It's quite all right, Mr. White, please go on.
I said, I mean, look, it's getting on for £80, it's serious. And she said, where do you think I'm going to get that kind of money from?
She couldn't pay you because she didn't have that kind of money.
Yes.
But on the very next day, the Sunday, what happened?
About 3 o'clock on Sunday afternoon, I got a call from her, from Mrs. Martin-James. She said, look, Roy, I've had a stroke of luck. I can come in and pay all I owe you tomorrow.
The accused actually told you that she could come in the following day and pay off the debt?
Yes.
And did she in fact do that?
No. Well, I mean, by then she'd been, well, arrested.
Ah, yes, of course. Thank you, Mr. White.
The phone call you've just mentioned, Mr. White, did the accused say anything else besides having a stroke of luck?
Something about, there's all hell going on here, and then rang off again.
Thank you very much indeed, Mr. White. Now, you live on your own in the flat above the shop you're manager of, is that right?
Yes.
Are you married?
No. Well, yes, I am, but I've been separated from my wife for 3 years now.
Mr. White, you say it is not company policy to allow customers credit.
Yes, that's right. No, it isn't.
But nevertheless, on some occasions, you do give some credit to some people.
Well, local branch managers do have a bit of discretion.
Judge for yourselves whether or not someone is creditworthy or not.
Yes.
Now, I have here a copy of your company's management manual, Your Honour.
Yes, yes.
On page 3, instruction 4, credit must not be given to anyone under any circumstances whatsoever. The penalty for disobeying this instruction is immediate dismissal. This instruction may be shown to a customer if necessary. So, to exactly how many of your customers do you give credit?
Well, I can't say exactly. 10 perhaps. 12.
And those 10 or 12, on what basis do you judge whether they should have credit?
I'm sorry, I don't understand.
Mr. White, I put it to you that the customers to whom you give credit and thereby risk your job all have one thing in common. They must be, in the first place, female, and in the second, willing to let you have sex with them.
No nonsense. That's completely untrue.
Or are you saying, Mr. White, that you have not had sex in the flat above your shop with at least 3 of the girls currently resident at Green House? Well, Mr. White, are you going to answer?
Well, not at my suggestion, I haven't, no. People don't know what some of those girls are like, how they egg you on. If you're on your own...
And, Mr. White, this has also happened with one other person connected with Green House.
Is that what she says?
What do you say, Mr. White?
Well, we were very fond of each other. At least I thought we were.
Is that why you've given the evidence you have given? Because you're fond of her?
I wasn't going to say anything about that. It's you that's brought that out.
I've no more questions. Thank you.
No further questions, Your Honour. That is the case for the prosecution.
Mr. Ingrams. Thank you, Mr. White. Miss Levine?
I call the defendant, Mrs. Martin-James.
The whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
What is your full name?
Stella Margaret Martin-James.
Mrs. Martin-James, how long have you been in charge of Green House Probation Hostel?
2 years. No, I'm sorry. 22 months.
Would you speak up a little, please?
I'm sorry. I've been employed there for 22 months.
And who are your employers?
I'm sorry, I know this sounds ridiculous, but I don't know.
Well, Miss Levine, perhaps we might know who actually gave her the job when she applied for it.
I'm obliged, Your Honour. Would you answer His Honour's question then? Who did you apply to? Who appointed you?
It was a sort of panel of people from the social services who interviewed me.
And they all knew at the time they were interviewing you, did they? That you had a criminal record and had been in prison?
Oh, yes, yes, they did.
How did they know?
Sorry, I'm afraid
Who told them?
Oh, I did.
You told them yourself? That there was no attempt at concealment of your past at all?
No, no, not at all.
And this panel or committee or whatever they were, knowing your record, still gave you the job?
Yes, they did.
Why was that?
Well, I think they decided to give me a chance.
Did they feel perhaps that someone who had been in trouble themselves might perhaps be just the person to help and guide girls who were starting very seriously to go wrong?
Well, they might have thought that, yes.
And ever since those people who appointed you put that trust in you, have you ever let them down?
I hope not.
Have there ever been any complaints about the way you were doing your job?
No, I don't think so.
And in the time you've been in charge of Green House Probation Hostel, Mrs. Martin-James, how many girls have at any one time been your responsibility there?
I suppose it must be 50 or 60 by now.
You have to do such things as keep up-to-date records about them, write confidential reports on their progress, even sometimes go to court and speak about one of the girls.
Yes, I do.
Was the court aware on such occasions that you yourself had a criminal record, Mrs. Martin-James?
No, Your Honour.
No.
Now, Mrs. Martin-James, I think we have sufficiently established the responsibility of the job that you've been doing for nearly 2 years, and the way you've been doing it so satisfactorily. So, let us pass from that general background to the particular events that took place at Green House Hostel. Are you well enough to continue, Mrs. Martin-James?
Yes, really, I'm terribly sorry. I'm perfectly all right.
You will remember, perhaps, that I was about to ask you about the conflicting statements you made to Woman Police Constable Ball when she came to your office to ask you about the missing money.
Yes, and it's absolutely true. I did make all those statements just as she said.
Shall we go through them one by one? First of all, she says you said, "I haven't the faintest idea what you're talking about," or words to that effect.
Yes, and I really didn't have at first. I couldn't think what. So that when she came into the office and came straight out with, "Where's the missing money?" then my mind just went blank.
And then Mary came in and threw an envelope down on the desk in front of you.
Yes, almost as...
You were going to say something?
No, no.
It seemed you were about to add.
No, it's probably not fair to say it. I was going to say almost as if she'd been listening at the door, but that wouldn't be fair.
Then, at the police officer's request, you opened the envelope and saw the money. You then said, "Mary, what are you doing? Where has this come from?"
Well, of course I knew where it had come from, but my mind was racing with all sorts of...
Then you said, "It's mine, you mustn't take things belonging to other people."
It was unforgivable. It was the first thing that came into my... It was completely untrue.
And then you went on and, in fact, accused Mary of planting it on you.
I can't excuse it. I can only say that by then I'd utterly and completely lost... It was a terrible thing to do.
And finally, she and Patsy gave me this money to look after for them. She knew it was there all the time.
Yes, I did. I said that too.
Was it true?
No, not really.
How do you mean, not really?
Well, to be honest, I did think I'd made it clear to Patsy that I was going to take the money out of the so-called secret compartment and put it somewhere else safer. And I thought Patsy would naturally have told Mary, but if Patsy says I didn't, then... Well, I couldn't have.
Did you later, when you were taken to the police station and charged, make a statement in which you admitted taking the money?
Yes, I did. By then it was utterly hopeless to explain anymore. Everything I was saying was just making it sound worse. Even so, that doesn't excuse all those terrible lies, and I can only say now how bitterly I regret it.
Mrs. Martin-James, did you intend to steal that money, that £100 in cash? Did you intend to deprive Mary Carr and Patricia Donovan of it and use it for yourself?
No. On my word of honour, I did not. What I did intend, and what I did try to do in a very, very silly way was... No, I did not intend to deprive them of it.
You were going to say something else in addition?
No, I don't want to add to that.
Mrs. Martin-James, I'm sure I don't need to point out to you that you were neither helping yourself nor making your counsel's task of defending you any easier if you withhold things which may be relevant.
I'm sorry, Your Honour. I don't want to say something that might reflect on people who can't be here to deny it.
Now, do they at this moment stand accused of something?
No, Your Honour.
No. Then don't you think you should let your counsel decide if something is too detrimental to others to be suggested?
Yes, Your Honour.
Mm-hmm.
They said it in a room... Well, to be blunt about it, they said it in a room full of people, some of whom wouldn't have hesitated to take that money if they'd known where it was and could lay their hands on it.
Well, I see nothing wrong in your saying that, Mrs. Martin-James. After all, everybody knows that you are warden of a probation hostel, not mother superior of a convent.
I'm obliged to Your Honour. So, let us now come to the evidence that was brought to suggest that you did intend to keep the money, the evidence of Mr. White. Was any of that true?
Some of it, I'm afraid, was, yes.
Some of it. Were you, for instance, indebted to him to the tune of £75 for drink?
I didn't know it was quite as much as that, but yes, I was in debt to him for money, for drink that I had owned. No, it doesn't matter. No, all I was going to say was that that wasn't what I owed him for a week's purchases or something like that. It was a total well over several months.
I'm going to ask you this perfectly bluntly, Mrs. Martin-James. Did you sometimes go to bed with him in return for his letting you take certain things from the shop on credit?
It was the other way round. I first went to bed with him because I liked him, and because I felt sorry for him because he was so lonely. Then he started to give me a bottle of wine or spirits from time to time as a present. I didn't know that he was totting it up. I thought it was because he liked me too. But then, well, to be honest, I found out that he was having sex with some of the girls in my charge at the hostel, and I was absolutely disgusted with him. I told him that I wanted nothing more to do with him. And then he started to say he was going to blackmail me almost. He started to say he'd send letters about me to people.
Your Honour, none of this was put to Mr. White when he was in the witness box.
No, quite. Well, you could, of course, recall your witness later, couldn't you, and put these matters to him, Mr. Ingrams, if you feel strongly about it.
Your Honour.
Yeah.
However, Mrs. Martin-James, it is true, is it, that you were in the off-licence shop managed by Mr. White on the Saturday afternoon, August the 15th, asking for 2 bottles of sherry?
Yes, it is.
And he refused to let you have them unless you paid for them?
Yes. I didn't want to pay for them in cash because I didn't have any money. And I didn't want to pay for them in the other way that he suggested I should.
Did you become abusive and violent, threatening, I think he said, to damage him and his shop?
I might have been abusive. He sickened me. But violent? Well, he's nearly a foot taller than me and considerably heavier.
He let you have the sherry eventually?
Yes, but he made it clear that it was going on the account.
And it's something else to... Yes?
No, I'm sorry. I was going to say he didn't mean the financial account.
And did something else transpire later that afternoon?
Yes, it did. At about 5:45, he phoned me up and said, would I like to go in and pay for the sherry before he opened up the shop again for the evening.
What he meant was perfectly plain.
Oh, yes. And he said if I didn't, he'd phone up Mr. Jeffrey and tell him what had been going on between us.
Mr. Jeffrey?
Oh, I'm sorry. That's Mr. John Jeffrey, the local authority social worker.
And what was your answer to Mr. White?
Well, I told him I couldn't go in straight away because I was on my own in charge. But I'd try and go and see him the following day.
What happened at Green House Hostel shortly after you'd received the phone call from Mr. White?
Well, I was feeling very low. I think I made myself a cup of tea and had a cigarette. Then I went into the sitting room to see which of the girls would be in for supper. Barbara came in first. She was wanting to show me a watch a man had given her. She was laughing. She said a girl could get anything she wanted out of a man.
What was your reaction to that?
Well, I'm afraid I completely lost my temper. Barbara's... Well, to put it bluntly, she's got very severe problems, both educationally and mentally. She does let people take advantage of her. And then Patsy and Mary started trying to provoke me too. They said they got £100 in cash and were saying very lewd things about what they'd done to get it.
And that was the first time you learned that Mary and Patsy had a large sum in cash?
Yes. And when I had a chance to talk to Patsy privately about it, I asked her if it was really true that she and Mary had £100. And she said yes. And I said, well, that's an awfully large sum of money to have in cash. Wouldn't it be better if I looked after it for them? And she said that it was perfectly safe, but I wasn't happy about it. But I was expecting Mr. Jeffrey back, and I thought I'd leave it until he returned so that I could ask him what to do about it. But about 9 o'clock, he phoned up and said his car had broken down outside Ipswich, and he wouldn't be back until the following morning.
So that was one more thing going wrong on top of everything else, and leaving you very much on your own.
Yes. And then when I heard he wasn't coming back either, well, I'm afraid I take pills, tranquilizers and so on. I took rather a lot to try and stop myself worrying that it didn't seem to work. And I'm afraid I drank nearly the whole of a bottle of sherry on my own, too.
And what effect did this have on you?
Well, I didn't get to sleep till about 4 o'clock. Then I was almost completely knocked out. And in the morning I was in a kind of trance, I suppose. I know that when the girls went to church, I had to keep drinking black coffee to try and clear my head.
Now, I want there to be no doubt in the minds of the members of the jury about this. Are you saying that on Sunday morning, as a result of the drink and the pills and the sleeplessness, that you didn't know what you were doing?
No. No, I'm not saying that at all, no.
What did you do, Mrs. Martin-James?
I went into Mary and Patsy's bedroom. I took the money out of the drawer where it was hidden, and I put it in the drawer of my own dressing table.
And what time did the girls get back?
Patsy got in first, and then Mary came in with another of the girls, Linda.
Linda is the girl who'd had a serious quarrel with Mary?
It had started the previous day and was still going on, getting worse.
Did you know what the quarrel was about?
It was... I think they were very fond of each other. Girls do sometimes get like that about one another in the hostel. I think there was jealousy because one thought the other was paying too much attention to somebody else.
Are we to hear evidence from this girl, Linda, Miss Levine?
Your Honour, I'm instructed that she is at present a patient receiving psychiatric treatment in hospital.
I see.
And by the time the girls got back, had Mr. Jeffrey also returned to the hostel?
Yes, he had. He got back about 11:15.
And did you have then a private conversation with him sometime about lunchtime?
Yes, I did.
And will you please tell us what the substance of that conversation was?
He said he thought I should put the money back in the girls' room.
Mrs. Martin-James, I want to be quite clear about this. Are you saying, by implication, that you told Mr. Jeffrey you had taken the money?
Yes, I am.
What did he say?
Well, he said, as the girls knew my record, knew I'd been in prison and so on, that I should put the money back before they found out it was missing, so there'd be no gossip. The girls can be very cruel sometimes.
Now, the suggestion has been made that you were intending to use the money to pay off your debt to the manager of the off-licence, Mr. White, and that you phoned him on the Sunday afternoon, and you told him that you'd had a stroke of luck, and you'd be able to pay him back the next day.
Yes, and that is completely untrue.
What is? That is what you said to him on the phone?
No, that I ever made that phone call to him.
Is he telling an untruth if he says that you did?
All I am saying, and do say, is that I never made that phone call on the Sunday afternoon or at any other time on that day. For one thing, I was far too concerned with Linda, who was on the roof trying to kill herself. I was trying to talk to her, get through to her for most of the afternoon.
There were, in fact, several hours of, well, perhaps pandemonium is too strong a word, but something very close to it, when your thoughts were entirely occupied with a suicidally threatening girl and very far from Mr. White and his threats.
Yes, completely. And when I did make the phone call, it wasn't to him.
Who was it to?
To the police station to ask if somebody could come and talk to Linda.
And?
Eventually, PC Ball arrived. That was some time afterwards.
And by then, in fact, Linda had been got down from the roof and it was all over.
Yes, Mr. Jeffrey handled the situation completely.
And when woman PC Ball came, unknown to you, she talked to Mary Carr and Patricia Donovan and then started to ask you about the missing money.
Yes. And as far as I was concerned, that was the absolute last straw in one of the most terrible days of my life.
Finally, Mrs. Martin-James, there's one matter remaining which we intend to be completely open about, and that is your criminal record. How many times have you been in prison?
3 times.
How old were you the first time?
19.
How long a sentence did you receive?
3 years.
What was it for?
Attacking my stepfather with a bread knife.
What occasioned that? Why did you do it?
He'd seduced me.
And the second time you went to prison?
Got mixed up with a married man. He stole some things and asked me to sell them for him. He was sent to prison for 4 years and I was given 18 months.
And the third occasion?
Well, about 6 years ago, I had a very serious drink problem. I forged someone's signature on a cheque to buy drink with. And I was sent to prison for 3 years for it. Only in prison they did help me a lot. They did cure my drink problem for me.
And am I right in saying, Mrs. Martin-James, that since you came out of prison 3 years ago, you've never been in any trouble of any kind whatsoever?
Yes, that is true. Yes.
Thank you, Mrs. Martin-James.
Is your name Stella Martin-James?
Yes.
Is that your real name?
Yes.
Is it? Well, is it?
Join us again tomorrow when the case of the Queen against Martin-James will be concluded in the Crown Court. Stella Martin-James, the warden in charge of Green House Probation hostel for girls, is accused of stealing £100 in cash belonging to Mary Carr and Patsy Donovan, 2 of the girls living in the hostel. She has pleaded not guilty, and the defence has admitted that she herself has a criminal record and has been in prison.
I'm terribly sorry. Please go on.
There's no need to apologise, Mrs. Martin-James. We've plenty of time. Now, I asked you if Stella Martin-James was your real name.
Yes.
It is not, however, the only name by which you've been known, is it?
No, it isn't.
Would you care to tell us what some of the others are, or were?
I'm sorry, I don't recall.
Well, Jean Warner, Margaret Ashley, Rosemary Graham Rogers. Are these among the names by which you have been known in the past?
They could have been. I'm afraid I don't remember.
You don't remember, I see. Well, do you remember if by any chance they happen to be names under which certain convictions, apart from those about which we've heard, have been recorded against you?
No, I don't.
Well, what exactly is it that you're saying, then, that you've had so many different names and so many convictions that you can no longer remember which ones go with which?
No, I'm not saying that at all, no.
Well, then what is it that you are saying, Mrs. Martin-James? I'm sure the members of the jury are just as mystified as I am.
The last time I was in prison, I completely accepted what I was. Someone who led a very wicked, dissolute life for years and years. Some of the convictions were for prostitution, and some were due to the drinking problem.
And some of the offences to which I am referring, and for which you have convictions under other names, are far more serious than those.
I was going on to say, yes. I accepted I'd sunk as low as anyone could. I was totally beyond the pale, and that prison sentence was the end of the line. I don't say that I saw it by myself. I didn't. I needed a lot of help by the prison staff, but they succeeded. By the time I came out, they'd helped me to put the past completely behind me.
Oh, so you had some kind of conversion, did you?
No. I had psychiatric treatment, which included hypnosis. And one of the effects of the hypnosis was that it helped to mix up some memories and wipe out others.
Well, of course, if you're going to fall back on I can't remember because of the treatment I had, it's going to be very useful to you now, isn't it?
My memory of everything since I came out is perfectly clear.
Really? Well, I'm delighted to hear that, Mrs. Martin-James. Well, then, let's see, shall we? Now, you said, for example, that it was Patsy Donovan to whom you suggested that you should look after the money.
Yes.
Why didn't you suggest it to Mary Carr?
I wasn't at all on good terms with Mary. In this job, sometimes you get on at times with some girls, and then at other times, not at all. And then it's the other way round. It was quite trivial.
Is there a safe in your office at the hostel?
Yes, there is.
Well, if, as you claim, your main concern was the safety of the money, why didn't you put the money in the safe rather than in your dressing table drawer?
In the previous 6 months, the safe had been opened 4 times by girls who had found the key.
Oh, so it was customary to leave valuables lying around in drawers, was it?
No one had many valuables as a rule. That's why the money was such a problem to know what to do about.
Well, if, as you say, no one had any valuables as a rule, did it not come as a surprise to you that Mary Carr, as soon as she received £100, promptly gave half of it away?
No, and it wouldn't have surprised me if she'd wanted it back 2 days later either. That would have seemed quite natural, too.
Really? Well, Mrs. Martin-James, allow me to put something to you which I think is, if not natural, then at least completely logical. You immediately began to think how you could lay your hands on that money.
No.
And then when the following day you had indeed laid your hands on it, you quite naturally telephoned to Mr. White to tell him you could pay him off.
No. I repeat, I did not phone him.
And then when the police constable began to question you, on your own admission, you lied. And you lied quite naturally because you'd stolen £100. Now, isn't that quite simply and truthfully what really happened?
No.
Why didn't you ask your assistant, Mr. Jeffrey, to come into the office and confirm to the policewoman that he knew that you'd taken the money?
I should have done. Don't know why I didn't. I just didn't think about it.
Was it not, in fact, because he could not have confirmed it? Because for the simple reason that he did not know about it, because you hadn't told him?
I had. He's going to say so in evidence.
Oh, is he? Thank you. Mrs. Martin-James.
Mrs. Martin-James, in your reply to my learned friend about your bad relationship with Mary Carr, you passed it off casually by saying it was trivial. Now, I'm going to ask you to be more explicit for your own good. The fact is that you'd had a serious row with Mary and 2 other girls the day before about some, well, tablets that you'd found in their possession. And you'd confiscated them and told them that if they ever brought such substances into the hostel again, you would have to report them.
There was trouble of that kind, yes.
And she and these other girls made remarks of a very threatening nature to you.
Things like that are said quite often. It would be very silly of me to take them all seriously.
Finally and briefly, Mrs. Martin-James, you told my learned friend that during your last imprisonment, you had undergone psychiatric treatment, including hypnosis, which had confused and sometimes wiped out certain things from your mind. If necessary, would you be willing to let the doctor who treated you be called in evidence?
Oh, yes.
Thank you.
Right. Thank you, Mrs. Martin-James.
I call Mr. John Jeffrey, please.
Mr. John Jeffrey.
Oh. Now, don't worry.
Oh. No, no, then, my dear, no, no.
Oh, piss off.
And your position was what, Mr. Jeffrey?
I was at the hostel on a residential placement.
And by last August, how long had you been there?
About 3 months, just a bit more.
Do you remember the events at the hostel on Saturday and Sunday, August the 15th and 16th last?
Well, only those of the Sunday. I didn't arrive back there until then.
Quite so. What time was that?
About lunchtime. No, earlier. About 12 o'clock.
When you got there, what sort of state did you find Mrs. Martin-James in?
Well, she was very nervous, very shaky, upset.
Did you know what about?
Well, not at first, no. I thought she'd been taking too many pills and drinking too much again.
Well, will you tell us what transpired?
She said, could we go down the road to the pub for a drink and a private chat?
And did you?
Well, I'm not one for pubs much, so we had the chat, such as it was, in her office.
Will you tell us the gist of it?
It was very short. She suddenly blurted out she'd taken some cash from 2 of the girls. I told her she was a bloody half-wit and should get it put back as quick as she could.
Mr. Jeffrey, I'm going to ask you to repeat that because it's vitally important. Mrs. Martin-James told you explicitly she'd taken money from 2 of the girls without them knowing it.
Yes.
And you advised her to put it back as quickly as possible before they found it.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Jeffrey.
Mr. Jeffrey, how old are you?
I'm 27.
Are you a qualified and experienced social worker?
No, I'm still a trainee.
Have you had much experience of many people like Mrs. Martin-James?
I'm sorry, but what the hell's that supposed to mean?
Yes, I was thinking of asking you that myself, Mr. Ingrams, though, of course, I might have worded it differently.
Well, I deliberately put the question so unspecifically, Your Honour, in order to discover what response it might elicit. However, I will put it more precisely. Mr. Jeffrey, in your training so far, or indeed in your daily life so far, have you met many people who have, well, been in prison?
No, that's why I was sent to a probation hostel, to get experience of work with delinquents.
Well, let me put something else to you then, Mr. Jeffrey. A young and inexperienced social worker you may be, but at 27, I'm quite sure, not a totally inexperienced and innocent young man. Have you met many women, just women, like Mrs. Martin-James?
I'm sorry, I don't get it.
Well, then I'll be more specific, Mr. Jeffrey. In fact, I'll be quite specific. We've heard a great deal about Mrs. Martin-James's sexual relationships with men. Have you been to bed with her?
No.
Has she ever offered to go to bed with you?
No.
Have you ever asked her to?
No.
And you, a man, resident in the hostel? Come now, Mr. Jeffrey,
No, I'm not interested. You see, I'm gay.
Ah. Yes, I see. Thank you, Mr. Jeffrey.
I've no further questions, thank you.
Right. Thank you, Mr. Jeffrey.
Silence! Call Barbara Evans, please. And how long have you been at Green House Hostel, Barbara?
Year and a bit. Long enough to be on the strength, like.
I'm sorry, did you say on the strength?
Yeah. You know, one of the greenhouse girls.
Oh, I see. Thank you, Barbara. Now...
They call me Dumbo.
Well, however, leaving that aside for the moment, I want to ask you if you remember Saturday and Sunday, August the 15th and 16th last.
Yeah, well, that's what all this is about, isn't it?
Quite. Now, on Sunday afternoon at around 3 o'clock, do you remember where you were?
In the garden, sunbathing. Yeah, wearing this sort of, with no back to it, and this big deep V in the front that really shows off my nice boobs.
Yeah, just a minute, Barbara. Your Honour, I hope my learned friend will accept that I'm not trying to lead the witness. Now, Barbara, on that Sunday afternoon when you were, as you say, in the garden sunbathing at around 3 o'clock, did you overhear someone in the house speaking on the telephone?
She was talking to old Whitey who's got the beer shop, yeah.
What made you sure it was Mr. White who was being spoken to?
She said, "Hello, Roy, is that you?"
And did you hear anything else said?
No. I wanted to get round the side at the back to see if Linda was going to jump.
Now, just answer this question, yes or no, please. Did you see who it was on the phone?
No, of course not. How could I? I was in the garden behind this big old brick thing and I wanted to go
Thank
and
you,
see-
Barbara. That's all.
Barbara, this person who you overheard making the phone call, now, you didn't see who it was. Did you perhaps recognize the voice?
No, of course not, no.
So, in fact, it could have been Mrs. Martin-James.
Oh, yeah. Could have been, yeah.
Thank you very much indeed, Barbara.
Mr. Jackson, exactly when and how did you meet Mrs. Martin-James?
Well, let me see, it must be 3 years by now. Just shortly before she was due to be discharged from prison. The prison welfare people often approach our society, you see, asking if we can assist in finding jobs and accommodation for people. And as secretary of the society, I went to see her and have a chat, to judge whether she was serious about wanting to go straight.
And you found her a job and accommodation?
I'm happy to say I was able to be of assistance in both those respects, yes.
The job you found her, was that as warden of the girls' probation hostel?
Oh, no, not then. Not straight away. No. She had to prove herself first before that.
In what way?
Being prepared to put up with living in a very modest little bed-sitter. Roll up her sleeves and earn an honest living. Show she was really determined to make a go of it.
Which she did, you say?
She did indeed. For a whole year.
Doing what sort of thing?
First of all, she took a post as a children's nanny to some friends of mine for a while. Then she came to our house, to my wife, for a couple of months, when she was convalescing after an operation. And then, oh yes, that's it. She went on a cruise to the Canaries as a companion to an elderly widow. The mother of an acquaintance of mine, in fact.
So it was after a year that she applied for and got the job at the hostel?
She did indeed, yes.
And I believe you yourself gave her the confidence to put in for it.
Well.
Thank you. Thank you.
Mr. Jackson, would you be so kind as to make something clear to me?
Gladly, if I can, sir, yes.
Your position as secretary of this charity, this society, which is partly responsible, among its other very good works, for the running of Green House Hostel. Now, is that are you a paid official? Is that your job?
No, sir. All of us who work for it give our services voluntarily. Although, to be frank, as secretary, I do receive a small honorarium of some £94 per annum.
I see, thank you. So then what is your occupation?
I'm in the field of property, sir.
In what way? Building it? Buying it? Selling it? What?
Buying, renovating, redecorating, converting, and so on and so on.
And letting?
Yes, that is part of it, yes.
Why are you so reticent about it, Mr. Jackson? There's nothing improper about it, I hope?
No, sir. No, most certainly not.
Tell me, when Mrs. Martin-James last came out of prison, now the modest little bed-sitter she went to live in, was that one of your properties?
Yes, sir. I believe, if my memory serves me all right, I believe it was, sir, yes.
Does your memory serve you sufficiently for you to recall what rent you charged her?
As I believe I've said, sir, our society's policy is to help where we can in what we're convinced are genuinely deserving cases.
Mr. Jackson, are you telling us that the society paid you for the rent of the room?
No, sir. No, most certainly not.
Then would you kindly tell us what it is that you are saying?
Because I'm a member of our society, I regard myself as having a moral duty to help others less fortunate.
Just give me a plain answer, please, Mr. Jackson. You did not charge her any rent.
Yes, sir, that is so.
You gave her rent-free accommodation. Now, doubtless you were also responsible for helping her to get employment as a children's nanny with your friends. And then she came to your home and looked after your wife for 2 months.
For which she was generously paid?
Oh, I don't doubt that for one moment, Mr. Jackson. And then you subsequently helped her to get the post at Green House. Now, I'm not doubting what you did for her. What I should very much like to discover is what, in return, she did for you.
Your Honour, I really do protest at the inference behind this line of questioning.
Oh? Why, what is the inference?
Your Honour, if I may just say so, I'm not in the least put out by it. I'm grateful for the young lady's efforts on my behalf, but I do know what he's suggesting. and I would be happy to have the opportunity of answering his insinuations.
Miss Levine?
You're suggesting, I believe, sir, that I've been having some kind of love affair with Mrs. Martin-James. If you'll pardon my saying so, that is not only a cheap and easy innuendo to make, but one which anyone involved, as I am, in charitable work with the opposite sex frequently has to put up with. Well, sir, there's no truth in it. None whatever. In fact, my lady wife, who happens to be sitting there in this courtroom at this very moment, would be happy, I'm sure, to step forward and confirm that she's never had one moment's anxiety from me on that score.
Thank you, Mr. Jackson.
Miss Levine? Yeah. Right, you may leave the witness box, Mr. Jackson. Thank you.
That is the defense's case, Your Honor.
Members of the jury, did the accused steal, or did she not steal, the sum of £100 in cash from Mary Carr and Patricia Donovan? Well, she certainly took the money and concealed it among her own personal possessions. There has been and can be no argument about that. So this case is not so much about what she did as why she did it. Now, the prosecution witness, Mr. White, told you that the accused owed him money, a sum not far short of exactly £100, in fact. And it was from the defense, not from the prosecution, that you heard what a perilous position that placed him in vis-à-vis his own employers, who would have instantly dismissed him if that situation had come to light. I should like you to consider this. The responsibility for the running of Green House Hostel is divided between the probation service, the social services department of the local authority, and the charity of which Mr. Jackson is the secretary. Now, I wonder, members of the jury, if you wondered, as I did, why it was that throughout the course of this trial, no one has appeared to speak on behalf of the accused from 2 out of those 3 very responsible authorities. But in the end, it still comes back, does it not, to the simple question of whom you are going to believe. The prosecution and their witnesses, the defense and theirs, and centrally, and most of all, the accused herself. Well, members of the jury, we know that on occasions the accused has lied. Indeed, she has confessed to lying not once, but no less than 5 times when she was being interviewed by the police officer. And I'm sure that you will remember that she also lied, or something very close to it, when she was answering my questions about her various former names and previous convictions under those various names. Can you honestly believe one single word that she has said? Is the truth not most likely to be that which the prosecution has maintained throughout? That Mrs. Martin-James took that money, she stole that money, in order to pay off her debt to Mr. White.
Members of the jury, my learned friend has said the choice lies between the prosecution's witnesses, the defense's witnesses, and I hope I noted it down correctly and am not misquoting him, centrally and most of all, the accused herself. Well, members of the jury, I shall be very content if you arrive at a verdict based on that judgment. Can you believe, my learned friend has asked you, one single word she says? Well, surely there can only be one answer to that question, yes. For has she not been most patently, not to say painfully, honest in everything she has said about herself? That she has been in prison, that she was an alcoholic or something very close to it, that she has had to have psychiatric treatment, that she was something akin to a prostitute, that, to use her own words, she had led a wicked and dissolute life and had been considered to be totally beyond the pale. I will tell you quite frankly, she expects to be found guilty. She doesn't expect you to believe her. She was weak, she was foolish, stupid even, but the one thing she did, which I'm sure you will not forget, however foolish and misguided it was, the one thing she did, members of the jury, was to tell her assistant, Mr. Jeffrey, that she had taken the money from the girl's room. Now, do you honestly believe that if she had intended to steal and keep that money, she would conceivably have done that? Is this woman, against whom no other allegation has been made in 2 years but this one, and this is based solely on the evidence of 2 girls who themselves have conviction for crime, is this woman never to be allowed back into society, no matter how hard she works to achieve it? Members of the jury, it is with confidence that I leave the answer to that question to you.
Members of the jury, it is now your task to arrive at your verdict. Well, I'm sure that your common sense will help you a great deal in deciding whom you are going to believe. And you may find, perhaps, in this sort of situation, that you can more confidently give weight to what was said by those who have nothing to gain or lose than by what was said by those who stand to lose the most. Well, now, in this particular instance, the only people of whom it can be said that they have nothing to lose are they not, the police? Now, how was it that the accused gave so many different explanations to the policewoman? And why did she not, as has been suggested, call in her assistant to help her when she was in such a desperate situation? Now, members of the jury, these are just matters to which I draw your attention, and you can give them whatever weight you consider they are worth, and no more. Now, I'll recapitulate the other facts for you, and then will you please retire, elect a foreman to speak for you, and consider your verdict.
Prisoner will stand. Members of the jury, will your foreman please stand? Please answer this question, yes or no. Have you reached a verdict on which you're all agreed?
Yes.
On the first count, stealing the sum of £50 in cash belonging to Mary Elizabeth Carr, do you find the accused, Stella Martin-James, guilty or not guilty?
Not guilty.
And on the second count, stealing the sum of £50 in cash belonging to Patricia Margaret Donovan, do you find the accused, Stella Martin-James, also guilty or not guilty?
Not guilty.
Mrs. Martin-James, you are free to go.